Hello everyone, Mark Serene, back again with our Enigmatica 6 expert playthrough. This is now episode 26. In the last episode, you can see behind us, we have moved in to a more permanent location for all of our pneumatic craft buildings. The placeholder scaffolding on the left is what we will be focusing on today. So let's take a quick look at the quest log. And right here is where we're going. We want to get to this assembly table. This is our main goal. In the last episode, we left off creating the UV light box. The UV light box will let us, if we take a look at the quest, take an empty PCB with an etch success chance of 0 all the way up to 100. Right, so this doesn't actually create an item. It's more ensuring success of a future craft of the etching tank itself. So we need to create this etching tank. Craft-wise, it's not that expensive. The thing that we really need to worry about is etching acid. Okay, we have two options here. We can actually go with the pressure chamber with a bucket of molten plastic, rotten flesh, spider eyes, and gunpowder to make a bucket of etching acid. Or we have an alternate. We could go directly for the liquid etching acid from a thermo-pneumatic processing plant, and I think this is where we want to go. We put the molten plastic in, out comes our etching acid, but we need Monster Mash. It caught on in a flash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash.
Okay, we will not sing that. But in order to make the monster mash, we have to heat our mixer and just put in the gunpowder, rotten flesh, and spider eye. So it's a very similar craft, but instead of using the pressure chamber, we're going to use the thermo-pneumatic processing plant. So let's go ahead and make this now. Let's throw all of our monster mash ingredients into our input chest, and everything should flow into the basin, and then all we need to do is give it a little heat. Fancy, fancy monster mash. There's all 20 of it. Nice. I don't know exactly how much of this etching acid we're going to need, but all it takes is at least 1 bar of pressure, which is going to be real easy to do. So let's go ahead and make a few buckets. We'll do it in the second thermo-pneumatic processing plant. We'll just put all of the monster mash in there. Perfect. There's our 6 buckets of etching acid. Now we need to go make the etching station. Alright, and here's the craft again for the etching tank. It's actually pretty simple, just some brick slabs and brick walls with a new fluid tank obsidian and any kind of glass pane. Great. Okay, we're going to place the UV light box here. It does take pressure, so we need to figure out how to route the pressure, and actually it looks like it takes pressure in from the back. So that's good to know. Let's place the etching tank down here as well, and we'll see what it also needs. I'm assuming it needs pressure too. Ah, it has temperature. This etching tank plan right here doesn't look like it takes any temperature, just the etching acid itself. So we'll try it without. Let's go ahead and grab some of our liquid. Quest complete. Let's go ahead and grab the loot box as well. Grab the loot box from this one as well. What did we get? We got 4 more volume upgrades. We got some advanced PCBs. Those will be nice. And some compressed iron. Okay, 2 buckets of etching acid in there. Now we need to figure out how we're going to connect our UV light box. Since this doesn't appear to use pressure, we may switch the UV light box over here, and then we can run our pressure system underneath and up behind it. In order to make our empty PCBs, we're going to use our pressure chamber with 1 copper plate, 6 flux dust, and 2 plastic sheets. I have ready right here. So the pretty pipe can send them in very fast, but unfortunately, right, this can still only accept one and the extra items bounce back. There goes the last one in. We should see the craft in 1 second. I heard it. Popping out now. Empty PCB. We got 6 of them. Perfect. So now, somehow, we put these in the light box. I can put only one in at a time. We can set a threshold. We may as well go to 100%. I don't want to fail on any of the craft. Let's go ahead and connect us in, though. We're now connected here. One more bit will connect us on the other side. Whoa. Interesting. Ha! The whole thing lights up. Hopefully this doesn't damage our eyes. Okay, so if we want to automate this, right, I think we need upgrades. We need dispenser upgrades. Completed items will auto-eject. Yeah. And then we could have a chest set up and all of that. I run back and forth a lot between my main storage and my buildings, you know, multiple buildings. Since we don't have any sort of wireless communication for an inventory system, not yet, we might want to look into another mode of transportation. I'm thinking the travel anchor could be nice. We can use just plain iron, so let's do that. We're going to want one travel anchor here and one in each of the other buildings. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. 3 travel anchors. This is a pretty central spot. We'll put it down here. Now, if we read the description, look at this with a travel staff or teleportation enchantment to teleport. So we might need a teleportation enchantment, but we do happen to have one of those. Enter a name to use it. Let's call this Create Factory. We'll call this Storage. Okay, so we have, right, the teleportation axe. I don't know if this will work though. Maybe we're too close. Hold on, let's try moving it. We'll call it temp. Okay, so storage is right there. Right clicking did work. Let's put this away. And it still works. Perfect. We'll see how far this lets us go. This might be too far of a range. I don't know what the range actually is. If it is, we'll put one in the lightning altar as well. Look at that. Perfect. This is really going to speed up our transportation. Put the last one back over here in our new building. I think we'll put it right in that center spot there, and we will call this the Pneumatic Factory. Can we go all the way back to storage? No. Storage is too far, but the Create Factory is not. So we can transport all the way over there with one short hop. Perfect. I have brought a dispenser upgrade back to our UV light box. See how it actually works. I'm not sure. Right click any block to set exit or eject direction. So, eject to up. I see. So if I do it here, eject to west. Okay, so theoretically, if we put a chest here, this will spit out into the chest. So we're going to try something here. We're going to put this spruce chest down here, and we're going to put 2 pretty pipes on top. All right, and then on this one, we're going to put in a low retrieval module. And in here, we're going to say it's only allowed to retrieve the empty PCBs. So, theoretically, if we put an empty PCB in here now, this doesn't have a space for it. But when this one finishes, it'll come over here. The dispenser upgrade should spit that off to the west where the chest is. Hopefully it goes in the chest. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe we need to have a pipe here as well so it can put it in the pipe. We don't know yet. But when that happens, the space over here will be empty, and one of these empty PCBs will go up through the pipe system. So hopefully we get to catch this in action, but this is a slow process. While we are waiting for this to finish, let's go ahead and put 2 of our empty PCBs in the etching tank. It says etching acid, and it doesn't tell us how much acid is required or anything. So I guess we're going to find that out now. Etching progress, 4%, 5%, so they are going up. Our acid hasn't gone down any yet, which is also good. This kind of makes me think that we could have done a lot more items and potentially used less acid, but we'll have to figure out that when this completes, of course. 100%. They are both completed. Look at that. And the etching acid itself didn't get used at all. Interesting. It turns out that in the etching tank, if you heat it above 50°C, it'll go faster, but then the etching acid will be slowly used. So it looks like the etching acid might be infinite for this process, as long as you don't care about how fast it goes. Let's go ahead and collect our epic loot box. Looks like we got more compressed iron. Let's go ahead and do this one. This is going to give us 2 transistors and 2 capacitors, which we are going to be using very soon. In fact, we are going to place these on the floor temporarily for when we need them. Okay, so this empty PCB is almost done on its UV light box. So what we're expecting to see happen, the item pop over here and then disappear into the box, hopefully. And then hopefully we can see in the background of the UI a new one come up through the pipe and into the light box. Let's see what happens. Okay, we can see it's coming up in. Perfect. Worked just as expected. Of course, the pretty pipe made one go and it bounced back. But our other completed one is here, which we are going to place in here now, because we need 3 of these unassembled PCBs very shortly. The next item on our docket is to turn our unassembled PCB into a printed circuit board. And how do we do this? Well, we take the unassembled PCB, 1 basic processor, 1 lead wire, 2 capacitors, and 2 transistors in our pressure chamber. And look, this one needs to have a pressure of 4 bar, between 4 and 5, to actually work successfully. Since it does require between 4 and 5, and we are at the low end of 4, right? I mean, we're constantly bouncing just below 4 and then up above as we're using it in other locations. Let's actually modify our system to allow us to go to 4.5 bar. I think we can reasonably assume, let's go ahead and stop our program, that if we go up 1 up to 9, this means that we should go up half of a bar. So if we run this again, we should see this increasing steadily up to 4.5 bar. Do note, though, that this is using pressure over here. So we're going to do 3 crafts. Here's our 3 PCB, our 3 basic processor, our 3 lead wire, and then 6 capacitor and 6 transistor. Let's go ahead and get them all in our system now. Comes our final item. We are still at 4.08 bar, 409, so we should have enough. I heard the click. And out come all 3 of our printed circuit boards. Hooray! Now the fun starts. Assembled a printed circuit board. Yeah, that is right. The fun is going to start now. Not that we weren't having fun before, but now we can make the assembly table. And why did I make 3? Well, the assembly controller itself requires 3 of those printed circuit boards. Let's go ahead and select our reward. We got more advanced PCBs. Great. I have done a lot of work off camera. It took quite a long time to get everything ready. But here we are. Here's the backpack that should be full of every item, I think, that we need in order to craft all of the table pieces. All of these. The only thing we have left to get is the diamond drill bit, which we are about to make now. The diamond drill bit is made in a thermo-pneumatic processing plant. We need 8 buckets of lubricant, a little bit of heat, up to 5, greater than 500 C heat, and then a diamond block. I'm not sure if our vortex cube can actually give us this much heat, so we're going to find out. But we also need to make the lubricant. In order to make the lubricant, we could buy it from the Amadron, but we should also be able to make it. Turns out redstone, with a little bit of temperature, will make it from diesel. So we're going to go ahead and do, I think, 10 crafts, because we have 10 redstone on us. So we just need 10 diesel, which is this and this. 1 and 2. 1, oh, and 2, and then we'll get the rest now. Okay, here we are, 10 diesel, 10 redstone. So now we'll just turn the temperature on. It just needs to be above 100 here, so we should be able to get that no problem. Here it goes. Crafting underway. Lubricant obtained. Alright, we're going to prepare the next one. We need to get 8 buckets of lubricant out of this one, which is now done. And we're going to also leave the temperature on to see if we can get it to go above 500. We're getting close. I brought the bucket of lava just in case we need it, which we might. Although we're still climbing, I think we're gonna get there. Our bar is at 4.21 in our pressure chamber. We've got plenty of pressure left. Oh, you know what I didn't notice? We don't have enough pressure now. We have to turn that off and let our pressure build back up. So I didn't notice this part of the recipe. And if we come in here, it'll show it. The pressure needs to be 4.5 bar, and the temperature needs to be above 500. So I think we will need to use our lava bucket. Unfortunately, we are probably going to lose all of that temperature before the pressure goes up. Over at the UV light box, I've seen great success with this slight modification. So, we now output still on the west side, but we output from here, when this finishes, directly into the etching tank. And you can see I've got 9 more unassembled PCBs in there, which is great. And then, it still has the module in this section of pipe, so it will pull out, let me show you this. It will pull out an empty PCB, but I also have a data filter modifier, which there was something I noticed before when we were storing the finished versions in the chest. It could actually pull the finished version out, so that data modifier should prevent that from happening. However, now with the new setup, it doesn't even matter, because once it's finished, it puts it in the etching tank and not back in the chest. There we go. It just moved over on its own. Nice. Okay, we're gonna pull out the thermal lagging from back there, put that bucket of lava in, That should get our temperature going up. Our pressure here is only 4.29 though at the moment. We can see that we're actually over here. I boosted the speed on it, but it keeps shutting off because over here it gets to 4.5 before the edge sections do. So we might need to temporarily disable that just to get our pressure up. And in fact, instead of disabling it like that, we're just going to do this. So that'll just turn it off, and this thing will now keep pumping pressure into the system. 4.41. Let's give it just a tiny bit of a speed boost. Here we go. We are now processing. And we're done. Diamond drill bit obtained. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick our bucket of lava back up. Let's put our thermal lagging back on the back. And then let's go ahead and re-enable our shut-off switch. So now we're at 4.7, that's fine. This pressure is going to equalize a little bit over the system, right? This over here is 4.61, so it will equalize a bit. With that final piece, we should be ready to go craft everything in our create factory. We need to switch our power source from over to here, because we need the large crafting table. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and prepare ourselves by getting each item on here marked over on the left over here in our hotkey section. And we will start with the controller. The controller is like the heart of the machine. So we need 5 pipes and 3 printed circuit boards, 1 monitor. All right, let's go ahead and get most of that stuff out now. We'll put our backpack down. We're gonna be constantly pulling things out of it. And I should probably just get in the habit and pull like everything out now, but we'll get out the necessary things to start with. This recipe, right, if we look, is a 4x4, you know, not full, but it is a 4x4. We could actually use any 4x4 section, right? So we could start at that corner and go up to this one, or this corner and go up to there, and that's what I think we're gonna do. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. We'll get our monitor in place. I think that went there. Stone slabs in, and finally the pneumatic dynamo. However, notice it didn't just start. So something we haven't had to do yet in the mechanical crafter is when you have a recipe, which we'll just double check, right? This looks good. Yep, looks good to me. In order to actually get it to start, you could do a couple different things, right? You could fill in, I don't know exactly what they're called. Let's find them real quick in here. Here it is, a crafter slot cover. So you could make these with brass nuggets, and you could put one of these in each of the empty slots, right? And then that would actually say, oh, we're complete, we've got everything in, let's go ahead and make the recipe. Yeah, and that's actually really good for automation, right? In automation, you would absolutely want to slot those in. But you don't have to. There is one other option, and that one other option is to give it a redstone signal, a pulse, if you will. So we'll use a button on the side. And that has told our contraption that the recipe is good and it should be able to start and craft. And so here it goes. Glorious. Okay, let's take the controller off and let's work on everything else. Here's our final craft to get our assembly table up and running. Alright, here we go. You will notice that in here, one of these assembly units is actually an export. I don't know why it crafted that way, but it's not hard to fix. So, right, the import is the only thing that we need to do, and in order to get it, all we have to do is put it in here and it switches over. Complete. Let's obtain our legendary loot box. We got programming puzzle pieces, used by a programmer when writing programs to a drone. This is cool. I'm excited to see how these actually work. Also, printed circuit board was part of the reward. Nice. Okay, back at our chest that we used from the Amandron tablet at the very end of last episode, let's get our assembly program drill and laser. That completed our next quest as well, which we will accept that in a moment. Our inventory is a little full. Now then, the way that I think this needs to be laid out is with the assembly controller up front so we can click on it, and then the assembly platform in the back with the drill and laser back there. So let's go ahead and try and lay this out and see if it makes any sense to us. So we want export on right, import on left. I don't know if we need these to face a different direction. Sure, we'll find out soon enough. And I don't think this matters too much, but the laser on right and the drill on left. Interesting, this thing tries to follow you, sort of, when you're looking at it. We'll put our program in as well. All right. Now, we do need to hook this up to our system, but I'm not quite ready to use it just yet, so we're going to hold off for just a moment. The main item that we're looking to create is our drawer controller. At least this is where we're going to start with the assembly table. It actually needs two different crafts. So this machine frame in the center, in order to make a processor, will require the laser program and a rough machine frame. The rough machine frame, man, comes from more things, but one of them is a coated machine frame top, which we have to coat with plastic in what looks to be a really high temperature. I'm not sure if we can get that temperature just yet. We're going to have to figure out how hot one lava bucket can get us. But the rough machine frame top, let's start here, is also an assembly controller. This one is a drill program, and we need two machine frames. So we're going to make two machine frames really quick. And actually, while it was in there, I should have selected it. Okay, two machine frames, and I've got two chests, and those are our input and output that we're going to set here and here. And actually, you know what? Maybe we'll put them right there. I did not want that to happen. Thank you. So again, I don't quite know how this works, other than I'm certain that we need to connect it to pressure. Here we go. We're now plugged in. Wow, this thing went up real quick. On standby. Oh, I wonder, do you think it's using pressure continuously? We'll have to see after it fully charges up here. I do not believe this is using any pressure while it's not in use, which is fantastic. Reading the book, okay, the assembly program drill and laser is a little special. It doesn't handle both drill and laser recipes. Instead, it provides a single program method for two-step recipes, which involve drilling and lasering. So what that means is, for our recipe here, We want to use the drill. We don't want to use drill and laser. We're going to go ahead and put our drill program in. And I think maybe we just put that in there. Running. Wow. We didn't even have to like configure this to tell it this was an input chest. It just knew that because it was close enough, it was going to be able to grab it. Now, I don't know if there's anything we can see here, but we can certainly watch it as it takes out its screen. Okay, so here comes the drill. This is pretty cool to watch, actually. And it squished it. We shouldn't see any laser being used, but this will be our export. It's going to pick up the new block and put it in this export chest. And here we are, rough machine frame top obtained. Cool. So this system is maybe a little slow, but we could put in 10 speed upgrades, and we could also put some volume upgrades in this. I don't think the volume's gonna make it any faster, but there we have it. The assembly table is working. And just like that, would you know it? We're out of time. This episode flew by. We have a fancy new assembly table right next to us and our fancy new pneumatic craft building. So, in the next episode, we may investigate further how we would potentially get up to 1600 degrees Celsius in our thermopneumatic processing plant for crafting our drawer controller. Or we might shift a little bit, right? Because all of this is in the vein of getting into refined storage. One of the other items we needed to get was an ichor crystal, and that came from breeding, or no, smelting, came from alloying. It came from alloying slime bees and another kind of bee that I can't remember. But that would require us to get into the Tinker's Smeltery. So we're gonna probably do a little experimentation and see which way we should go. Both of those things need to happen. Just whichever one happens first will be the next episode. So I really appreciate you stopping by. This is Merc Serene signing off.